And welcome to this week's Sports Glutton Show. Coming from another city and another state. So let's see what we got going on here. We're going to be checking out the playoff preview of the conference semifinals coming up. And hello, everybody out there. Coming to you from a hotel room in Laramie, Wyoming. So this week I was in, who was I? Colorado State University, where the Rams played, and there's the Ram. They have a big Ram statue out there, which is kind of fun and a little cold. Was driving, so some beautiful driving up to Colorado, but my views are up to Wyoming. My views are of the snow. It was 22 degrees I had to deal with. And up in Wyoming, right by the Walmart, you have all these like little churches out there. It's like in the movies, the old churches. It's, where they take you in the back and I don't know what they do to you because they have a lot of those. So, but there was some.
Or northern Colorado. Not really sure. Look at these beautiful colors in the trees. So white. Wow. Snow. This is pretty.
But you had to keep your eyes on the road out there because it was kind of it was a little scary. It was the roads it was windy and blustery, and like today it was.
My view in Wyoming. That's what we got today.
So the Perkins restaurant over there seems to be like the happening place in Little Wyoming. So
this is what I remember driving towards Wyoming. Just nothing.
There's like nothing out here, but I'll tell you, this is a place that I would move to. And I don't know if I would move to. I'd get a place here, but it's horse country. This is old town horse country. So we are in cold weather. It's still snowing out there. We got to working tomorrow, and then driving 2 hours to Denver through some hopefully not icy roads, and then back home to LA. So we're going to let our guests in, our panelists, our squad that's here today. So we got Mr. Rick's Picks with us.
What's up, Todd? How are you?
What's up? I think you saw the videos, and that's the life I'm living right now.
Looks cold.
All right. And Eric, nice to see you over there.
Hey, folks.
Hey, nice to have
What's
you
up,
coming
Eric?
in. Miss Casey, and Casey joining us from her abode.
Hey,
nice
guys.
to see you. And we have Julio coming in. And
hi, everyone.
And we have Remy, and Remy and I did a stream on Monday night. It went pretty good. It was fun. It was doing that. I did it Sunday night, and I got flagged, and I got thrown into social media jail. I got banned from social media because I was streaming a game. Not allowed to do that. And
Damn.
then, so then we just did it Monday night, and I stripped the audio, and it's on a podcast. It's on the Todd You're an Idiot podcast. I'll send you guys a link for that. If you're in the football pools, remember to make your picks. So we have games. Oh, what's today? Today's Friday. We have games Saturday and Sunday. So hopefully we had it was a pretty good week of playoffs. And let's see. Here's our brackets. That's what we're looking at. So what do we got going on here? We had, let's see, what games did we have? The Titans had a bye, and oh, you know what? I did the brackets wrong. Jeez. The Raiders beat the Bengals, right? Am I right on that?
No.
No,
I'm right. The Bengals beat the Raiders.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh
good.
yes. No,
I'm not as
you
dumb
might
as
be the
I
only one
thought.
who doesn't know that.
Well, I put the brackets together, and then I'm looking at it, and I'm like, wait a second, did the Raiders win? And no, the Bengals won. So the Bengals defeated the Raiders. The Chiefs, I think they annihilated the Steelers. Packers had the bye. The 49ers, was it an upset against the Cowboys? I don't know. And the Rams, was that an upset? No, because the Cardinals really not have a good second half of the season. So I just want to, before I do this, I want to introduce what's going to happen. We have our features coming up, and let me see if I got that.
Wild card week of the NFL playoffs is in the books, and that means it's time for some tasty Casey takes.
So we'll be getting some of those features in later on today. So alrighty, boys. Boys and girls. Do we have um any observations on this one?
Well,
Are we out there?
I'll just jump in and say I heard someone talk about that this is the weekend with the best football of the year. That generally, when they look at the playoffs in general, this is the weekend where the best games are. Sometimes you'll see blowouts next week, and then last week, they're saying like this is the weekend where you get the best quality games. We'll see.
Yeah, no, this is a good. I think this is a good series coming up.
I agree with Casey because I think last week 5 out of the 6 favorites covered the spread, and you've got a lot of even matchups. I don't know if we're talking about forward or backwards, but being a Rams fan, I thought they played. That was the best playoff game I've ever seen them play, and I've watched a lot of shows and listened to a lot of radio today. And most people are picking the Rams, even though the spread, the points are still in favor of Tampa Bay. So I find that interesting. Anxious to hear about you guys, but I hope we talk a little about last week, especially that Dallas game.
I like the Rams. I like the Rams in the upset. I hate having to go against Tom Brady. Obviously, I've lost plenty of money doing that in my lifetime. But I feel like there's some key injuries on the offensive line on Tampa Bay that we've been highlighting. And the fact is, he doesn't have Antonio Brown and he doesn't have Chris Godwin. Who's playing wide receiver besides Mike Evans? I don't think Scotty Miller. Like, I don't know if that's going to do it. I think
one of their backups was good, but
the other one that took Brown's place got hurt.
We lost Whitworth, which is going to be big, but they lost their 2 tackles, which we may have talked about last week. I just think and Fournette's coming back, so I think he's coming back. It's still questionable, but the Rams they just seem to be peaking on all cylinders with Odell Beckham now being a serious factor along with Kupp and Stafford not throwing any picks. And then Cam Akers coming back. I thought he was really the difference.
Oh my goodness,
even the 1-2 punch with Michelle, they were fantastic.
And that's a great observation.
But before we go, we got more gluttons with us. We got Jared and we got Mackenzie.
Hey.
Nice to see everybody. The thing about Beckham, I saw a video the other day where he found out the opposing player's sister had cerebral palsy, and it's a video, and he goes over and hugs her and starts dancing with her. And, the guy is just, he's had some negative reports on him, I guess. But if I was to pick a team, I'd put him on. I want Odell Beckham on my team.
I think he's really matured, just listening to him now. I mean, he used to kind of be in Antonio Brown territory, but he really wants to win. He's excited to be in the playoffs. He got his first playoff touchdown, and his talent's always been there, so it's really great to see him playing up to the level he can play.
Well, the talent's been there, but the question you have is, was he immature, or did he always just have it? I mean, there was some little bit of immaturity to him, but let's face it, he came from being with the Browns, which who knows what Baker Mayfield really is. It doesn't look like he's too promising, and obviously the Giants had a lackluster I mean, quarterback situation, whether it was Manning, which I think is who he left with, and then Daniel Jones is a rookie. So who knows? But it's a good fit right now. That's for sure.
He's a social media kid too, in the sense of I'm older, so I didn't grow up in his generation. So some of the stuff that I looked at, I'd say, "Oh, what is he doing?" But they grew up in a different generation. So some of them, there's so much that look at me. He seems like a okay person, but then you hear little things, and then he does stuff on social media, and you think, "Huh." So he's complex, and I definitely agree with the comment. He's probably matured a bit too, these last few years and his experiences, and having some ups and downs, and that'll sometimes take off your rough edges, having a little bit of sandpaper put on you.
Well, probably overall, I don't think professional athletes are the most mature human beings in the world. They kind of scoot through college, and I mean, I wish there was a "Where Are They Now" show about the guys who go nowhere. Not even the guys that make the pros, but how many of these guys go to college and maybe they have dreams, but they never get drafted, and they just didn't take school seriously.
A bit of entitlement, I think you're saying there, Todd.
Going back to Beckham, though, I believe what you guys are hitting on is the mature factor. If you follow him, and I do on his Instagram, I think he's had a big slice of humble pie dealt to him in his life now, and he realizes the position he's in is a position of being in the luckiest position of your life, being an NFL player. And I think he's actually grateful for the second chance, let's call it, with third chance potentially with the Rams. And it freaked me out a little bit because like some of us here, we play fantasy, and I did have Odell on my team. I picked him. Nobody wanted. I picked him late, saying, "You know what? I'm gonna give this a shot." And I watched a lot of those Brown games, just getting mad because remember when his dad put that video out about how Baker wasn't throwing to him? He really wasn't. Like, the guy was open, and I don't understand how a quarterback in the NFL would not throw to an open receiver.
He had some injuries too. I think I heard a stat like he had 6 touchdowns in 3 years, and he's got 6 touchdowns in 7 games now.
Yeah. So
I mean,
That's why they tested him for PEDs this week, because of those numbers alone, Eric.
Is that true? No, that's not true, right? Is that true?
It's true they tested him.
You bring up a great point, Rick. You bring up a great point, and I wish Remy was here because, we talk about Baker Mayfield. He just wasn't finding the guy. Let's be honest. Baker Mayfield is not a star quarterback. He's a mediocre quarterback. In my opinion, he probably is a backup kind of quarterback. Is he really a star? I don't know. But Odell Beckham had a lot of pressure out of New York. He made that spectacular one-handed catch, and he had a great couple of seasons in New York. And I think he's trying to live up to that hype, and it's a lot of pressure. So, I mean, the kid is talented. Is he a Des Bryant? Is he an Antonio Brown? I don't think so. I think the kid is just misunderstood. He could be a Keyshawn Johnson kind of type. Just give him the damn ball, man.
Yeah, well, look at that last week. He had that jumping, leaping over the hands catch. He had the pass for 40 yards. He had another catch where he almost had the touchdown that went for about 40. But we also got and then Kupp, they were double teaming, so he was hardly a factor. He's still in the fourth quarter. He turned it on, and then you got Cam Akers and Sony Michel, but Akers was unbelievable. I've never seen a guy come back from Achilles 8 months and then have that kind of explosiveness. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
take the kid to the hospital too.
Right. Well, we're gonna bring Julio's dream has come true, and here's Remy.
Baker Mayfield cannot find Odell Beckham, and you know it.
I heard you. I heard what you said. Hey, you never know. He just didn't see him. He's only not even 6 foot tall, really. So he just didn't see him when he was open. That's all I can say about that. I can say as a Giants fan, when he had the chance to show up in a playoff, he didn't, because he went on a boat ride and got blown up by the Packers, and he deserves those 3 years of not getting footballs.
Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to bring up, Remy, is that photo, I think, was what did him in. I mean, he went on a massive losing streak after taking that photo and, then getting that slice of humble pie of like, oh, okay, he's actually maybe not the greatest of all time. And that he actually can lose a couple of games.
That was the second Peter Frampton reference in Humble Pie. Peter Frampton was with Humble Pie. So that was the second Peter Frampton reference we had.
That was right over my head. I wasn't connecting Humble Pie and Peter Frampton to this.
And to give you another one, this could be Beckham Comes Alive.
Beckham
Comes Alive.
Beckham Comes Alive.
Frampton Comes Alive was a huge album.
So we should have a moment of silence for
Meatloaf. Doesn't work out for Baker.
Oh, Meatloaf, rest in peace.
Meatloaf.
And Louis Anderson. Let's not forget.
Louis Anderson. Yeah.
Hey, my boy from Minnesota.
Louis Anderson, the comedian.
Yeah. The comedian.
He died.
Blood cancer.
He died.
Him and Meatloaf.
I thought he died like 10 years ago.
His career.
His career, yeah.
But not his.
Yeah, not his career. His career didn't die.
So
he was on
at least there's no consistency there. They're two skinny guys, so there's no, there was
Baskets. He played a mother. I think he won an award for it. He played a mother.
Zach, whatever Zach's last name is.
Baskets. I didn't watch it, but it was amazing. So.
Oh, I love Louis Anderson.
And Jared, you're from Minnesota, right?
I am.
Yeah, me too. And so, I'm a huge, Louis Anderson fan, and all of the Louis Anderson show is on YouTube. It's an animated show.
Life of Louis.
Yeah, yeah. It's a really good show. Recommend everybody go and watch it.
Oh, that's good.
And just tribute.
I was lucky enough to see Louis Anderson when he was starting out. Perform at the comedy store on Sunset. I was dating a waitress there at the time, and I used to go in around midnight, and she would get me in for free. And the shows went till 2 a.m. And I'm telling you, he was instantly just like one of my favorites. Like, this guy is funny
because he's good. The pro comedians are way above the guys that just show up.
Yeah,
they're Kenji and Jared, who the Vikings playing this weekend?
Well, I'll tell you this much: we're not going to lose.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
But I'll tell you what, though. Here's the deal: there is some interesting stuff going on. I mean, with the Vikings, we got a new GM that we're hunting for, and a new head coach we're hunting for. And personally, I'm thinking if it's me, if I had my druthers, I think I'm leaning Raheem Morris, but who knows? That's not for me. That's above my pay grade to make that decision, of course, but. I believe he's going to be defensive coordinator either way, and that's what Zimmer was before he collapsed defensively. So we'll see.
At this point, I'll just take somebody who's really good at Madden. We've just had so many different change of paces. We've had so many different we're going to go an offensive-minded strategy, and then we'll change halfway through the season depending on what our injuries are or what our draft capital what we've spent. So we just need to stick to the plan, whatever it is that they end up doing. Please, dear God Almighty.
I mean, you got Dalvin Cook and Jefferson, and you got a pretty potent offense with and look at. I know Cousins gets a lot of heat. I'm not a bandwagon rider of Cousins. He's got a lot of flaws, but he's certainly a more than capable quarterback. In the last couple of years, he has gotten a lot better. Now, is he worth the money? No. Hell no. But what do you do? I mean, what's the other option out there? Because I don't know what other choice we have at this point. So
his numbers aren't bad though. When you look at his numbers across the board, great numbers.
No, neither are Russell Westbrook's with the Lakers, but
what happened with Russell Westbrook? He got he got benched or something last night.
He got benched last night, and rightfully so.
He can't make a shot.
Turnover.
Yeah, he can't make a shot.
LeVert was killing him, and I like to look at we actually get to talk about basketball. I like to look at the Lakers, who they should have with LeBron, Kuzma, Caruso, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Brandon Ingram. They could even have Russell on Minnesota. If they kept all those guys with LeBron, they'd have a championship team, no doubt.
Eric, if was a pick, you would all be drunk, my friend. And the bottom line is you had to do the deal with Ingram to get AD. It was a good deal at the time. I didn't know AD was paper mache. I mean, I'm sure not many other people did. But the truth is, where we really screwed up is bringing Westbrook in this year. We could have gotten DeRozan, who instead of going to Chicago, he's an LA native, wanted to come here. Could have got the sharpshooter with the what's his name with Sacramento.
Buddy Hield.
The 3-point shooter that is out there. His name
Hey,
is
Jared, did you notice that DeRozan had a career high against the Lakers?
Yeah.
Reminding the Lakers.
I love Westbrook.
Hey, man, you guys didn't sign me. I'm going to light you guys up. This is what you missed out on. Hey, kudos to DeRozan because he's just killing it this year.
But I do like Malik Monk. He's been balling out. I like Austin Reeves, the young kid, the 3-point shooter. He's got a good ball game. And how about Stanley Johnson? Actually, I got a nickname for Stanley Johnson. You know he's on his like third or fourth 10-day contract, right? So Stanley 10-day Johnson. I mean, I think we need to market that right now. Let's get the T-shirts pressed, get them out there.
I remember seeing that kid play in Modern Day. Was it? Didn't he go to Modern Day?
Yeah, he did. Yes, he did.
He's really talented.
Second best players on 10-day contracts. I think instead of blaming Westbrook and Vogel, they should start blaming Pelinka. I mean, I think he's made a lot of really bad moves. The biggest one being bringing Westbrook, who I love. I'm a UCLA fan. I love the guy, but he's past his prime, and he's never learned that he can't shoot.
But isn't LeBron the GM?
Yeah, pretty much.
No, but that's the thing. You're right. LeBron had to sign off on that. And that's what I heard. The scuttlebutt on the word on the streets here is that Westbrook in the offseason came to LeBron like, "Hey, let me come to the team. I'll make it better." He went to AD, and they were all on board. And then they went to Pelinka. So if you got LeBron and AD going to Pelinka saying, "Hey, we got to bring this guy," yeah, you're the GM, but your hands are going to be a little bit tied at that point. But again, the right GM move at that point for me is bringing DeRozan in, keeping Caruso because you keep your payroll down.
You keep Caruso,
a big part of that defense.
You keep KCP.
They chose
two defenders.
Yeah, and look at Kuzma, who played like
Kuz.
Oh, you know what? Last couple of years,
he had turned into a defender.
Washington right now.
Yeah.
But Kuzma didn't like LeBron. He hated LeBron.
Well, I'm sure it was probably mutual.
What do you hear that?
Because Kuzma played like did not play good at all on a consistent basis last year. So I don't blame them for not bringing him back.
All right, so we'll hit. Basketball is going to be coming up pretty soon, and let's get back to our job of the night. So.
Can I mention something? Can I mention something about the Rams game, just to kind of tie it up?
Good.
It's the most perplexing game to me because the Rams, when they beat the Jaguars, that was like a get-well game for them, and then they went and stunk it up against the Niners. And I'm worried about this week whether that game against the Cardinals was another get-well game. But I like Cam Akers coming back because that looks like what that team, wanted to be to start the season. And then you have, arguably the GOAT on the other side, but he's got no offensive weapons and no offensive line. I would not bet this game. I mean, I would stay completely away from this game betting wise, just because it's just such a mishmash of things that could happen.
The Cardinals' loss to the Rams struck me as a game where a coach was trying to show that he was the smartest guy in the stadium. Cliff Kingsbury started off the game, pass, pass, pass. He even did a gadget play having a wide receiver throw a pass. And what happened? The Rams kept getting the ball back and going down the field on the Cardinals' bad defense. You need to go to your running game, Kingsbury, early on in the game. You have Connor. You have Edmonds. You don't have D-Hop right now. You're not going to go far in the playoffs if all you want to do is show how smart you are.
Ouch.
That's a really good take, Casey.
Kev, she's good at those. She's got some takes, boy.
Good observations. So, let's go over to that Bucs-Rams game then. Let's talk about it. Playing in Tampa Bay, all the home teams are on top of this bracket, and the Bucs-Rams. Does anyone know of anybody not playing? Like anyone either COVID or injured, or I think the Bucs might have a couple of linemen out or defensive linemen.
Yeah,
out
they have a couple linemen, and
both of them are out. The ones that protect Brady are both out. So
wait, who's out?
the two linemen for the Tampa Bay. I forget their names.
I don't know if that's official, Lenny. Though I know they're
They haven't played. They haven't played all week. They haven't played all week. So even if they do play tomorrow or really quick, that's a whole week without playing. That they might not be that effective anyway. And also against against Jalen Ramsey, Evans is only gets 60 yards in the last 2 games he's played against Jalen Ramsey. So look for that to be a coverage right there. So he won't have that weapon. I don't think will be that's his biggest weapon right now. And I know Fournette's coming back. We don't know what he's going to do. I mean, how strong he's going to be because he's.
I'm pretty sure Fournette's hamstring won't hold up.
Yeah, I've seen that. I wouldn't bet this game either, but I think the Rams have a good shot, and once again, I think we need to see Stafford show himself and prove himself again, because that one win against Arizona, like you said, with Kingsbury, and they did a stat on Kingsbury all the way back to college, where he starts off like 5-0, 6-0, and then loses his last 5 and 6 games and ends up being 500 or less. So I don't know that he's really good material. And like you said, they've never used their running game, put it all on Kyler Murray's shoulders, who's never been in a playoff game. So I don't know. That game should have been a lot closer than it was. It wasn't a fun game. The best game out of the weekend was, I think, the Bengals and the Raiders, because it was at least interesting and both teams were in. I mean, Dallas should have never been in next to the 49ers, but that was like the best game of the week.
I think the Bengals are about to get smashed. I think people are hyped. I think they're about to get smashed by the Titans. I think the Bengals are a fun team, a public team. People are like to watch them. Joe, the quarterback just had 500 yards. Jamar Chase is amazing. But it's all going to end, and Tennessee is going to smash them. And because the fact is that they can't stop the run, and here comes Derrick Henry. So I think it's going to be a long afternoon for the Bengals.
Well, Rick, what wins games, especially playoff games, is defense and running the ball, and that's exactly what the Titans have. So
that's exactly what they have.
I don't see them losing that either.
And then, their defensive front, man, they're beasts, man.
Yeah, Cincinnati lost. I'm going to pronounce it. I think it's Ogajabi, which is a huge loss for them. I don't like the Bengals here. I mean, a lot of people are going to call me, go on this Bengals side because what they've seen, they score a lot of points, this and that and the other. But to me, they're just too much like the Chargers. They have an implode button that's going to hit here. And this is the biggest blow of the week.
Unlike Kirk Cousins, Tannehill is a gamer when there's a big game on the line. He's not the greatest passer, doesn't have the greatest stats, but he's a winner. And now getting Derrick Henry back, I actually made a prop bet on the Bengals for the Super Bowl after last week, but I know the Titans are going to kick their fanny, so I agree with you. And thanks for Jamar Chase prop bet, Rick. I did good on that.
That was easy.
I did real bad on Dabo, on the 49er guy. I did bad with him, but good one on Chase.
Yeah, that Chase was easy money.
Hey, Rick,
let's get a prediction on the Cardinals from Mr. Tim Ferram is back with us. Hello, Mr. Tim.
Hello. Cardinals, big news in Cardinal land is supposedly Michael Bidwell, the owner, is giving Kingsbury 1 more year. And if they do a midseason collapse like they have the last 2 years, he's out. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's Arizona. They should have been the strongest team in the league, and then they just fell apart after the injury of what's his name.
Yeah.
Hey, Tim, Mike McCarthy might become available.
No thanks. So
Rams Bucks. What do we think going on there? I'm a big fan of the Bucks. I even though I would like the Rams, I just think they're playing in Tampa Bay.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams are playing strong, but it's still Brady and the Rams have been somewhat inconsistent, and so are the Bucks. But I would go with them.
I agree with Casey on this one. Stay away if you're going to bet. Don't bet on this game. I'm a huge Rams fan. You guys know that. I just think that you got to run the ball. You got to get Cam Akers involved. You got to establish the run. If you don't, Stafford gets panicky and starts throwing interceptions. So I love what they did against the Cardinals. They established the run, and then they gave them some safe passes. Odell Beckham was amazing, and Cooper Kupp was amazing. The defense was amazing. The only thing is that I'm truly afraid of Tom Brady.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He could just beat you, man. I mean, that guy. It doesn't matter what he has on his squad, man. He could have the worst squad, in the world, and he could still find a way to beat you. He still has Gronk. I know that we did hurt Gronk. What was it, week 2, with some bruised ribs. I hope that's on the back of his mind when he goes into the secondary. But I don't know, man. It's gonna be tough.
I think, unlike Kyler Murray last week, Tom Brady can actually see over the O-line. All right. He's going to find ways to get the ball downfield. Plus, he loves using Leonard Fournette. Every time Leonard Fournette is in the game, he makes sure he gets involved. So Tom Brady knows exactly what to do. Rick, you are really successful at this, so I'm sure you're going to still make tons of money off the game. But yeah, I'm not betting anything in this game because I feel like this could go many different ways, and I feel less certain about the outcome of this one, even though I do feel like Brady's going to pull it out.
Oh no, I'm scared of this game. I'm really scared of this game. Like I said, I've lost a lot of money betting against Tom Brady, but that's when I wasn't smart. That's when I would bet against him because I wanted to see the Patriots lose more than think about how the game was going to turn out. I flipped that script.
It was a little emotional.
It was emotional. Yeah, it was emotional. I flipped that script last year in the Super Bowl. I'm like, I'm not falling down this path, and I was all over Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl. I don't know. I think the Rams, believe it or not, I think some of those late moves, Beckham, the couple pickups they had with the kid from
Von
Denver.
Miller.
Yeah, Von Miller. Thank you. I think those are paying off right now. I think Aaron Donald is going to wreck this game with this guy Worth out. So I'm not going to go big on it, but I will back the Rams and take the points. And it's a scary bet.
The odds makers are looking at this weekend as a very tight weekend, except for the Packers, but that's pretty tight too. I mean, I don't see these as 2-point games. I think, one team. I think there's going to be some dominance from some of these games. So I think these teams are going to step up. The winners are going to step up.
So who else is on the Bucks, or who's on the Rams? We're playing straight up, or are we going points?
All right. So straight up, I'm gonna take straight
Rams
up.
money line. Rams money line.
Not with my heart, because I'm not a Rams fan, but I am in LA, and I did go to a Ram game. So.
Oh no!
The Isaac Bruce.
Oh yeah, the throwback. That was a Super Bowl. That was a Super Bowl, huh?
That was, but here's the ironically, I got this when I went to the game when they played against the Titans. When that was probably Stafford's worst game of the season, or one of them at least. And anyway, this was the little memorabilia I got on the way there. The Rams got their butts kicked that game too, by the way. Just saying. But yeah, well, I like to see the Rams win. I think Brady is hard to bet against. I wouldn't put $1 on it, but I'm hoping it's a good game from an entertainment standpoint. If that's the case, then we all win.
You know what I don't have? I don't have the schedule.
I don't bet against Tom Brady. I wouldn't, but I'm taking the Rams.
Good call. What about you, Tim?
Yeah, I think I might go with the Rams. I think I said that the added stars look really good. The only thing I'm a little worried about is they beat the Cardinals so easily that they may be overconfident, and you don't want to go into a game being overconfident with Tom Brady. He will slice.
I don't think they'll be overconfident, Tim. I think they know what they're up against. The GOAT. I can't imagine Sean McVay having that team overconfident. It's going to be a great game. Casey, did you make a pick?
Trepidatiously, I will go with the Rams and Cam Akers.
Nice.
Despite I just feel like they had that get-well game against the Cardinals. I think it's just different now. They've gelled more since that Jaguars game. So that's my hope.
All right.
But then also they did crush Tampa Bay in the second week when Tom still had all his weapons. So it's really hard to beat a team twice.
Yeah.
And then but McVay's played him in the Super Bowl, and they kept him down to like what 7 points, 10 points. So I don't know.
And Tom threw for over 400 yards in that game, Remy, and we still beat him.
Yeah.
So is that? I mean, go ahead, Todd.
No, go ahead, Tim.
Well,
no, I'd still, despite Brady factor, I do kind of think the added stars with LA will prevail.
So the Rams and Bucks are playing. Rams and Bucks are playing Sunday. I guess it's a noon kickoff. It's a 3 o'clock kickoff Eastern, so that'll be noon Pacific. And that'll
Sunday's a great day. You got the Bills and Chiefs and Rams Bucks. I think those are wow. A lot of people are calling the Bills Chiefs the actual AFC title game. It feels like those two should be playing to get to the Super Bowl, right?
Right? Yeah.
Exactly.
Not if the Titans have anything to say.
What's that?
Not if the Titans have anything to say about that.
No, I know they're sitting there. Everyone's overlooking them for sure. The number 1 seed.
And Derrick Henry coming back. Oh my God.
And they've knocked on the door the last several years. I think they've been to this conference finals or even the game to the championship game a couple of times. They can't get over the hump. So they've been around. It's not like they're new at this.
Which game are you talking about? Bucks Rams or Bills Chiefs?
We were commenting on the Titans that no one's given them any respect or a chance to get out of the.
I think this is like, I guess they did pretty good without Derrick Henry, but they just, for some reason, they just don't hit you as a dominant team.
No, they're boring.
Yeah.
Their offense is predictable.
They're boring. They run the ball and they play good defense, and before you know it, they're up 17-3. And they start squeezing the life out of the opponent.
They could destroy Cincinnati, because Cincinnati is destroyable.
Yeah, agreed.
They could have good games, but they could absolutely get destroyed. And Tennessee's got a week off, and if Henry's got that extra week to recuperate, and I think this is the Titans giving points is a good spread. And whether in over 47, I don't know about that, because if the Titans hold the Bengals, it could be like a 24-14 or 17, and it would be like a 40. I don't see that being an over. I see it being an under.
One of the stats I wrote down that I thought you guys would like was the fact that the Titans scored 29 points a game when they had Derrick Henry, and they only averaged 21 points a game without him. And they were still able to win games. So that means that defense is really good and playing much better than we think.
That and AJ Green, they're 11-2 with him on the team, on the squad.
Yeah.
He missed a few games, so when he's on there, they're 11-2.
And they got Brown.
Julio's back, isn't he?
Who?
Yeah, I think she meant Julio Jones, right? You said AJ
No,
Green.
AJ. No, AJ Brown. I meant
AJ
right?
Brown.
AJ Brown, yeah.
I meant AJ Brown.
It was a dog.
You know what?
He's a dog.
Speaking of AJ Brown, he was actually on my fantasy squad, and when he was on the team, he was like, you knew that he was going to go for at least 70 yards and a touchdown when he was playing. So that he's a great player. But this game reminds me of like the tried and true, like the boring, you're never gonna like be absolutely in love with it, like a Toyota Prius in the Tennessee Titans. And then you have like the flashy, like can throw for 500 yards Bengals that are just so fun to watch. They make for great television. But at the end of the day, it's like, I don't know what this metaphor would then be, like a Hummer or something, or like Nissan Leaf.
I think DeLorean would work perfectly.
A DeLorean, sure, yeah, okay. Right. Then you have a DeLorean where is actually really flashy, reminds you of the good old days in the 80s, but it's not actually something that can get you from point A to point B. This team is not going to get you to the Super Bowl. So thank you, Jared, for that help with the metaphor.
The other metaphor would be they're like a Fiat. Remember those cars? They look nice, but if you ever drove one, anyone who had a Fiat always called you to come pick them up because their car was broken down.
So Titans Bengals is I think someone's got some feedback. Does somebody have like a speaker on when
I don't.
No? Okay. So the Titans. The more we talk about it, the more I could see the Titans ending up in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because
dark horse, definitely.
Yeah, I could totally see it. Because I really think that they're gonna destroy. I think they're gonna destroy.
Bengals.
The Bengals. Any else have a thought?
So Eric, you said you bet the Titans to win the Super Bowl last week. Is that Eric? Can you hear me, Eric?
There.
Eric, did you say you bet the Titans to win the Super Bowl last week? Oh, you can't hear me.
Yeah. Eric,
is he sleeping? Did we put him to sleep?
Little narcolepsy going on here.
Eric.
Eric.
Yes. I'm having some feedback problems, so I didn't even hear the question.
I was asking, did you say you bet the Titans to win the Super Bowl last week?
No. I took last week after the Bengal blowout. I took the Bengals. Another great bet, but I'm taking the Titans this week, so I'll have a winner one way or another.
Right. I'm sitting on the Titans at 25-1. I bet them in June to win the Super Bowl. So I'm sitting at 25-1.
But I took the Rams after they beat Tampa Bay $50, 9-1. So that would be nice.
That's not bad.
And the Packers. Those are my three choices. But I'm staying away from player prop bets, Rich, because they really killed me the last couple of weeks.
No, you might like I like the Derrick Henry over 78.5 yards. I think you should throw some funny money, just like $25 on it. He's going to hit that. As long as his foot holds up, he'll have 100 yards, guaranteed.
How about Cam Akers? My player props haven't come out yet. They wait until the day of the game.
I didn't see what his player prop was, but boy, did he look good.
No, mine aren't out.
So let's say Chiefs, Titans, Bengals. Anyone think the Bengals are going to win that one?
I'm on the points on that one, so I would pick them with the point. Not with the points. That they'll lose by less. I think they.
So you think it's going to be a close game?
I think it'll be a close game. But I lean towards the Titans in the sense of everyone's been talking about they do squeeze the life out of you, but the Bengals always seem to be there at the end of the game, so that's why I would bet it as with the points versus saying, okay, I wouldn't do the money line on that one.
Right. All right. So we have one with the points. That's because I would go all the way with the Titans. Chiefs Bills, a tough game. I think the Chiefs. If the Bills either it's one or the other. One team is going to destroy the other. I don't think it's going to be. I think the Chiefs are going to destroy the Bills. I think Josh Allen is really good, but he's that the Bills have been known to just not show up sometimes.
Is Scott Norwood playing for him again?
If the Chiefs show up in the first half like they did on Sunday against Pittsburgh, Buffalo will destroy them. If they look at anything like they did to the first quarter and a half last week,
you're
Buffalo
right. They look terrible. They didn't look strong.
They're not going to be like, they're going to score touchdowns. Did you see? I mean, last week every possession was a touchdown. Like they didn't, no field goals, no punts, no. Yeah, they're going to score touchdowns when they're down there.
They had no punts in that game, which is amazing.
Yeah. Josh Allen played the game of his life, you guys. I'm a believer now. I was a doubter. I admit I was a Josh Allen doubter. He played the best game of his life.
Yes.
And I think he might show up against Kansas City. I don't know. I mean, Kansas City, they just have a way of beating you all the time. I mean, Andy Reid is such a great coach, and I wouldn't go against Mahomes. I don't know. I think Kansas City. I'm going to take Kansas City, even though Josh Allen was a beast last week. I don't know. It's a tough decision for me.
I would go with the Super Bowl team. I would go with that team in this case. I think Josh Allen does a great job, but he's a little green in this situation. Mahomes has won a Super Bowl. They know what it takes to get there, and I don't think Casey is going to lay down on this one. I think
Todd, you know what? Mahomes was green when he got there too, and the only way you get there is by going through the best. And so I'm going Buffalo on this. I'm
Buffalo.
doing it. I'm
Going
doing it.
Buffalo.
They don't have Norwood anymore. I think they got it. We're good.
Where is Rick going?
I'm going Buffalo. I'm going Buffalo. Jared said it earlier. Defense. You guys aren't sleeping on the Bills. They have the #1 rated defense in the NFL. That's going to mean something, especially when you could score. And guess who's in the bottom half of the NFL? The Kansas City Chiefs. Right below. I'm looking at it right here. The only teams that are worse than them are the Jets, the Texans, the Vikings, the Lions, the Seahawks, and then it's Kansas City.
The only thing about stats.
The
only thing about stats that hits me is the season was like two separate seasons, first half and second half, and that skews the stats. It's almost like when, let's say, a player plays 2 games and he's averaging 15 points, but he actually scored 27 in one game and 8 in another. So the average comes out as one thing, but it's not accurate on what we're reading. So I think Kansas City had such a good, strong second half of the season. I'm sure if you eliminated the first half of the season for them, the stats would be different. They would be much more stronger.
I can understand where you're coming from with that, Todd. The only thing that I would probably propose is that if you look at the teams that are surging between these two, I mean, Remy brought it up exactly right. They were awful against Pittsburgh last week versus Buffalo killed it last week against the Pats. So in terms of momentum and what team I actually believe has sort of the most going into this weekend, I think it's Buffalo. And maybe, again, like Jared and we're both from Minnesota, and so we just naturally gravitate towards cold weather teams. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But I actually do really think –
I don't think Kansas City's a warm weather team.
No,
but
But they're not on the Canadian border either.
Yeah. No, but remember, I'm right there.
My view in Wyoming.
Who missed it? I'm in Wyoming, and I was Denver last week and Kansas City, and it's cold. So I think both of these teams, the weather factor, I don't know. I don't think that plays. But who's the better running team? Because doesn't the weather affect that?
I think Buffalo is, because their number 1 running back is out. He's not playing. Beginning of the year, I picked a Kansas City Green Bay Super Bowl, and I was debating between Kansas City and Buffalo. I'm going to go backwards on that, and I think Buffalo's going to win this game.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go. She's flipping her pick.
The only thing that's a factor is the crowd, but other than that, but you got Josh Allen, who's the Mandalorian. Nothing phases him. He just put his little mask on and throws it out, and that guy's a beast. And guess what? Our GM now shop for the groceries for that team. So,
That's right.
Woo, Giants! Do you want to the GM that's not related to the Mara? So I'm looking for some.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you about that.
They do. See, I told him he had free reign, so he can pick his coach. He can do whatever he wants. So I'm kind of super excited about that.
Also, another point that people have brought up is, the quarterback comparison, because both of these quarterbacks are mobile and they can run, but they're very different in terms of how they choose to run. Patrick Mahomes is always going to be trying to pull a rabbit out of a hat and do some sort of magician move, versus Josh Allen, first and foremost, I think, wants to throw the ball. He wants to first throw, and then if there's nothing there, then he'll run for it if given the opportunity. Mahomes is like, oh, watch me do this cool trick. I'm going to be flashy a little bit. That's my take on it.
Go on.
I'd like to see Mahomes in the offseason really work on his footwork and his mechanics, because sometimes, like he tried last game, he tried to go throw it back across the grain as he was going right, and it almost got picked off. He's just gotten so enamored with these off-platform throws that he worries me, and I see other players doing it now too, and then suddenly something that could be a screen pass completion becomes a screen pass incomplete. So I'd really like to see him get back to some basic mechanics and, not try, like as you say, Mackenzie, pull a rabbit out of the hat all the time, because that's been their demise many times this year, at least.
Yeah, this should be a high-scoring game, you would think. I mean, you got two top 5 offenses here. Even though Buffalo is the number 1 defense, I mean, it's hard to stop KC, let's face it. So I'm tempted to jump on that over 54 points. I feel like this can be a real shootout, to the tune of something like 37-34. Last team with the ball, last guy gets a field goal to win it. I think it's going to be that close and that good of a game.
And Mackenzie, you talked about him pulling a rabbit out of his hat, Patrick Mahomes. I think you got to factor two players into that rabbit hole as well, and that is Sean Kelsey and Tyreek Hill. Those two guys, I mean, when he is scrambling, he seems to find either one of those guys, and they seem to score or get a first down. So I mean, it's so hard to bet against those guys. I understand where everyone's coming from in terms of Buffalo being on a hot streak. I get it. But, man, it's hard to bet against those 3 X factors, man.
Absolutely.
This is why I'm going to stick with Kansas City, because we're talking about Buffalo's number 1 defense. This is who Buffalo beat this year. They beat Miami 35-0. They beat Washington. They beat Houston 40-0. So 2 horrible teams. They beat the Chiefs one time. They lost to Tennessee. They beat Miami again. They gave up only 9 points to Jacksonville in a loss to 9-6. And they beat New Orleans, another horrible team. They held New England to only 14 points in a 10-14 loss. They lost to Tampa Bay. They beat the Panthers, and they beat the Falcons, and I think they beat the Jets. So their number 1 defense, I don't think is really says anything about them. They're they had a fairly weak schedule or something, and
I mean, I don't know if you can go with that, because AFC is to me is a weaker division than the NFC. So they didn't play a lot of NFC teams, and I just think a lot of the AFC teams are weak. And then you can look at Kansas City's defense and say the same thing. There just wasn't nothing in the AFC this year on anything. They were all mediocre, winning in their divisions. Teams that we thought were supposed to be good weren't good. Teams that weren't supposed to be good were good. No one thought Burrow was going to do what he was going to do. No one thought. I mean, Cleveland was excited to win that division this year, and then no one thought New England was going to show up and be any good. And it's just no one thought. I mean, the best division of the whole thing was the West. All those teams were fighting up to the end, almost for the first place. So I just don't think anybody has the teams, I don't think you can look at that as far as not being a good defense.
Eric, what do you got on this one?
This one I'm really afraid to touch. I think it will be a great game. I think if both quarterbacks show up, it will be, as Rich is predicting, a shootout till the end. But I have a feeling that one of them's not going to be on their game, and whoever that is will be the loser. So it's a game I'm afraid to really predict.
Right.
I think the team that scores the most points is going to win.
Yeah.
That would be a safe bet.
I like that bet, Mackenzie.
That's deep analysis right there.
All right, so I'm sticking with the Chiefs. I think it's going to be an under. I think it's going to be cold weather. It's snowing out here in this area. I don't think it's going to be a high-scoring game, and I'm going Chiefs. So sliding over to the Packers and 49ers, that somewhat of an upset where Dak Prescott showed that he is probably one of the most overrated quarterbacks in the league.
Well, I don't know. Well, that is certainly true, but I watched that play. I must have watched it 5 minutes, rewinding, going back. They lost at least 5 seconds between the ref tackling him and the center catching the ball.
The refs were ridiculous. The refs were. I haven't said who's paying the refs, the NFL or the bookies.
I couldn't believe that NFL headquarters didn't give him a couple seconds, because that was outrageous. The ref bumped into him, and you think that's a play they practice over and over, so it's Mike McCarthy, I think he doesn't do anything. Get rid of him. But Dak, yeah, totally overrated. But we don't know. Had they had that last play, I mean, and he shouldn't have done that bootleg either. He should have ran out of bounds for sure. I mean, it was a disaster.
And the last play, even going up the middle, just even chancing that was a ridiculous call.
Ridiculous. I'm glad I took the 49ers.
Yeah.
Well, with the ref part, the ref has got to touch. It's a law, a rule. The ref has got to touch the ball and punch it. A player can't do that. They should have known that. They should have handed to the ref. The ref didn't knock him down. He had to get through the big guys to touch the ball. That's their own fault. The ref did nothing wrong there.
But I think at that point, maybe it's so critical. Maybe you just stop the clock at that point. You blow the whistle.
Point, I don't blame Dak. I blame McCarthy. Is a terrible coach. He's overrated. That's why Rodgers has one Super Bowl in his career, which is ridiculous because that guy was. And if you don't fire him and make the defensive coordinator your coach, you're going to lose him, and you're stuck with McCarthy for another year.
And Kellen Moore's to blame for that too, because I think even if that was a perfect play, they said they might have had 2 seconds, but a bootleg with that much time, oh my God, that was horrible.
Well, it should have never gotten there in the first place. It should have never gotten there in the first place. First of all, why are you motioning your linemen when Jimmy Garoppolo can sneak in and gets the first down, the game is over? They should have been scoring touchdowns in the red zone. They let them get back into that game. They should have never gotten to that point. They should have never even been in the game.
That was a questionable call too, Remy. It looked like he was set.
Yeah, and then I mean, there were a couple of stupid calls on there, but they should have never gotten that. They should have never been in that position to win that, almost come back and win that game anyway.
Is anyone
the bottom line is, team, San Francisco is the better team.
Yes, they are the better team. But is anyone sick of pass interference deciding so many games? I'm so sick of it. They've got to do something.
Yeah, they have. They tried to fix it after that. After the Saints lost that.
Right, the Rams.
And they still haven't fixed it. It's the worst.
So the 49ers better than the Cowboys, but now they're facing the Packers.
Give me the 49ers all day. I'm taking the 6 points.
Rick, I hope you're right, man.
I'm taking the 6 points.
I agree with Rick on this one.
I have one stat, though. I have one stat. Aaron Rodgers is something like 29 or 32-1 when the temperature is below 32 degrees. And Jimmy Garoppolo has never played in weather below 32 degrees. I heard that today, and that's pretty startling.
Yeah, Jimmy G is the only thing that can ruin this game. But I have a feeling that the run game of the 49ers is so dominant that they're not going to need a lot of Jimmy G. Maybe he throws 20 passes, and Debo and those guys can Ayuk and George Kittle will. I just think 6 points is too much. I could see Green Bay winning, but I think this is another field goal game, so why not take the 6?
Rick, Jared, myself, and Vikings fans everywhere hope you are right. It really will depend on whether or not they're going to be able to run the ball effectively. And, maybe Jimmy GQ can get like a manicure or something and get all of his like fancy things that he has and be able to actually like be present here for the game. I'm hoping he doesn't screw this up. Yeah, okay, the 49ers knocked our Vikings out of the playoffs a couple years ago, but we sure as heck like them better than the Packers right now. So
yes, we do. Amen.
They come in and they go in and that they beat them in Lambeau.
Can I give you another stat?
Anytime Aaron Rodgers
can I give one more stat on this thing? Sorry, Jerry. One more stat for you guys. The Green Bay Packers are given a 5 yards a carry against the team that loves to run the ball.
And the 49ers are going to run the ball down your throats, and you can't do anything to stop it. It doesn't matter. You could put an 8-man front. Doesn't matter. You could do a running back blitz. It doesn't matter. They're still going to run the ball down your throats. They got Deebo Samuels and they got that kid Mitchell, and you're not going to be able to stop it. I see them handing the ball off to the running backs about 30 to 35 times this game. That's what I'm predicting.
I don't, because that's what they were doing against Dallas, running it down their throats, and they stopped running it down their throats and let Jimmy G throw it all over the place. And if that's what they're going to do again, now you got to look back at Kyle Shanahan and go, maybe they lost that Super Bowl a couple years ago because of his play calling, because they were running it down the throat, then stopped and put it in Jimmy's hands, and they almost lost the game. So I see them starting off that way, maybe giving it a good shot, and then getting away from the game again because of Aaron doing that. The only thing I am a little nervous about this game, because in the 20 playoff games that my God, I'm losing his name, has been in, their average, this is the defense you have to look at. They give up 26.6 points a game in all the playoff games, but they've lost all 3 to San Francisco because they've given them up to 35 points. That's the only thing. So if Jimmy
I think the Packers with a week off, with probably one of the best offensive lines in the game, I just think they're going to destroy San Francisco.
And Todd, just so I'm clear, because betting with your head and betting with your heart are 2 different things, and that's why I never bet the Vikings games, no matter who they're playing, because as you saw against the Lions this year, shit happens. Anything can happen. So I'd rather bet with my head than my heart. But obviously, my heart wants the Packers to lose. Aaron Rodgers to be on the ground more times than anything. That would make my day for sure. Him and his COVID toe and the whole 9. However, Lambeau and the frozen tundra is real. And they do, like you said, Todd, they do have a huge advantage with that week off. And my head says that the Packers are going to win the game, but I'm rocking the gold and the red jersey for sure.
It's going to be a great game. It should be a great game. Even a blowout could still be a great game. And so I think
depends who you're rooting for.
Very good.
I think Remy's points were excellent. If they run the whole game, that was another great prop bet on Samuel. If they run the whole game, but Jimmy G's got that sprained thumb, and that interception he threw in the fourth quarter last week was horrible, and it put the Cowboys right back in the game. And so I think questioning Kyle Shanahan's play calling, a lot will come down to what she said. Excellent point, Remy.
Yep.
So we got a split field on that game with the Packers and the 49ers. I think the Packers are going to cover. It's going to be an over, and that's just where I'm going with that one. I think, and I'm really rooting for that Super Bowl I rematch, Packers Chiefs out of LA. I'm really hoping for that. I'm really hoping for that. We're gonna. Anyone else have thoughts on that game?
No,
we're gonna do a little. Casey did a little one more. She did a little thing on the Eagles with Jalen Hurts. It made a lot of sense, and we're talking about quarterbacks who can't. They're overrated. So let's go with this.
The Eagles' better play in the second half of the season was mainly a result of them focusing on the run game and playing some weak opponents. And against the Buccaneers, it was showed that they really are not a playoff contender right now. Of more concern to the Eagles was the play of Jalen Hurts. He is not an accurate passer. He is not a good decision maker. In my opinion, he's a less skilled Lamar Jackson. Heading into the future, they're going to need to up his pocket passing game, or else they will never be a contender for a Super Bowl.
So that was interesting because they lost to the Bucs, and that was an interesting take. I think there's a lot of quarterbacks like that are just, you wonder. I got to get that. Yeah.
One of the things which is interesting, if you look at the teams that didn't make the playoffs this year, all of their quarterback situations might not get better. I mean, there's a dearth of what's coming out of the college ranks. There's a dearth of good free agents, put aside a Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers thing. What are these teams going to do, going into next season when it comes to quarterback? Be it Cleveland? I'm not saying like a Philadelphia. Of course, they're not going to change. I don't think there's going to be a change in Philadelphia at quarterback. But boy, they head into next season. Basically, I feel bad for a lot of their fan bases because what are they?
Well, and there's not a lot of guys to reach out for. Like Cam Newton he tried to make a little comeback, and he had one. His first game was fantastic, and then he was like, all right, I did it, and that was it. And then he fell apart again. And then he's jumping. So there's not a lot of depth of quarterbacks out there right now, and so they're going to have quarterback problems, coaching problems, and something hits me about coaching. is there's bad coaches, and it's like those are the guys that get interviewed for other teams. It's not like they're all of a sudden going to get better going to another team. They're still the same coach who they are, and there's not like an extra pool. So I'd like to know who's new that's going to start being interviewed instead of these guys. Like I guess Brian Flores could be good. I mean, they had a good he proved that he could be a good coach. I mean, Miami came back and had a good.
He'll be the Giants coach next year. You watch.
There's so many great, African American coaches that deserve a shot. Raheem Moore, he only got one season, I think, in Denver, and Leslie Frazier they're talking about, and of course Eric Bieniemy and Byron Leftwich. A lot of those guys deserve shots, but my guess out of 8 openings, we'll be lucky if 2 persons of color get a job.
Well, Mackenzie, I saw you smile when he mentioned Leslie Frazier, and my sentiments exactly.
Yeah, well, okay, nice guy. He's a great coordinator, but a head coach he is not. At least for the Vikings, and I mean he's not going to be coming towards the Vikings anyway. But Todd, I really appreciate that point that you're making about coaches and how they're really going to be the same, which is why I hope that they don't let the teenager, Kellen Moore, be the head coach for the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah. And also too, like if you look at people and how they always stay consistent, they're not going to be all of a sudden miraculous. I think of Sam Darnold when he left the Jets and went to Carolina, and they went 3-0, and they're like, oh my God, he's the best thing. Oh yeah, it was just who was the coach in New York? That was
Gaze? Adam Gaze?
Yeah, Adam Gaze, right. Thank you, Casey. It was like, oh, it's because he finally left under the ruthless rule of Adam Gaze, and now he's finally able to flourish. Yeah, they went 3-0, but then you saw what happened after that. So, like, I agree that just because they're in a new situation, coaches or quarterback otherwise, they're going to be the same player or coach they were before.
There's a lot of coaches too. I didn't write down their names. Guys that have been that have played, been all Pro Bowl picks, been coordinators, and they're still not getting a shot. I mean, there's definitely a glass ceiling. A lot of these owners, have kind of conservative political views, and they're just afraid. But let's be blunt, to put a team with a black man, they just can't do it.
Are there black people in sports?
There's plenty on the playing side, but you only got one coach now on the Steelers, and 80% of the team players are black, and I
mean, you don't know though. You're without being in the office and interviewing them and seeing what their leadership skills are. You just don't know. You're not there, and I'm not saying they don't deserve it or whoever. I mean, are there any Hispanic coaches?
Yeah, Ron Rivera, just one though. There's not a lot of Hispanic players though, but
we
had Jack Del Rio too, but he's not coaching right now.
Who's that Jewish coach? Oh, there is none. Wait a second.
That's when we play Madden, Todd.
I got no representation. Hey, man.
Well, that's because they don't like to coach things. They like to run them. They don't want to coach them. They like to run and own them.
That's true.
Oh, wow.
Using Jewish, which I am a proud Jewish person, and Hispanics it's apples and oranges. I mean, the game is predominantly African American. I think players will relate to them. I just think they deserve more opportunities, and I believe
it would be interesting, Eric. It would be interesting to take the records of the head coaches and seeing how they are, because when you're saying they could relate to them, maybe. And again, you'd have to look into the depth of this and to see the statistics. Maybe when there's a black coach, the players think that they have a little more freedom to do things, and maybe I don't know. I'm just saying the psychology of it.
The only coaches that have gotten a fair run are that I could think of are Dennis Green, maybe Art Shell, and Mike Tony Dungy, and they've won Super Bowls and they have winning records. So I will compile the records for you. But I think the few chances they've gotten, I think most of them have been really successful.
Well, maybe they picked the right ones. They picked there's something
Flores
about
should not have
them.
been fired. Brian Flores should not have been fired.
That was so wrong.
And that's why I'm going to take him on my team because he came from Buffalo, and guess who my new GM is? He's from Buffalo. So
But I heard the quarterback didn't want him. I think that's what the issue was.
That could be true. But I'm tired of seeing these like Staley's and Campbell's, guys that haven't been. Well, Staley was a coordinator for one season. Some of these guys, white guys, are getting jobs. They haven't been pro players. They've only been position coaches, and they're getting a shot. I just think there's a lot of disparity.
Well, it's like I'm watching. What was it on NBC? It's Chris Collinsworth on NBC.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And his son, is that his son?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean,
Phil Simms' son is on NBC too.
What did they do to get a job?
You know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Well,
I had
his son
that
played.
paved
He
the
played
way.
for Tampa Bay for 5 years. Phil
Eric-
Simms is in the league for 5. Not Phil Simms. Chris
Chris.
Simms is in the league for 5
Chris
years.
Simms, yeah.
And he knows quarterbacks. I like listening to him talk. He knows his quarterbacks. He knows.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, that's fine.
Collinsworth's son, he's actually not bad. I'll be honest with you. He's pretty good at
But
it.
that's entertainment. We're talking sports, which is entertainment too.
But I think that's the point at large, right? Is because they, based on who their parent is, they were given an opportunity. And Eric, to your point, I think there are people that haven't been given opportunity. One, in the Black and African American community, but then also two, I mean, I'm really excited because the Vikings could potentially have a woman coach.
Yes.
And I
Becky
think
Hammond is going to be hired for the Vikings.
Hey, if she's good at Madden, let's go. All right,
That's all it takes.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what would be interesting? That would be a cool show. A guy who they do a whole Madden season. The winning player gets to coach a real NFL team and see how he does. You know.
Well, hey, let's talk to Netflix. Maybe they'll pick it up. But I do think, and Julio, I would love to get your input, and then Casey and Remy too. I would love to have you guys talk on this as well. Like, what is it that you feel like is limiting and creating these glass ceilings that are clearly there, and what can teams do? Because the owners probably, who do they listen to? How can there be actual change in the NFL?
I'd pipe in one thing is for years we heard, well, there's no African American in the coordinator's position. And that's changed. And now we have a lot of good African American coordinators. So it's like, okay, that excuse is gone. So what's your new excuse for the fact that you have one African American coach? I believe they fired, is it David Cullen? I always mess his name up. He got canned after one season.
After one season.
And
the best
you have
coach.
Mike McCarthy, who's basically been mediocre for years. This season was a debacle with him, in my opinion, and he'll be back. So there's really a dearth of imagination there's a bias at the ownership level, in my opinion. I don't know how else to say it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hate to do this, but I got a meatloaf that just came out the oven, and coincidentally, in honor of meatloaf, I guess.
I hope your meatloaf came out right and didn't die.
You know what? I put a little bit of applesauce in there. That's the trick. A little bit of applesauce keeps it moist.
Good.
So, and I use ground turkey, so it's going to be on the leaner side of things, unlike the real.
So it's a turkey loaf.
There you go. But it'll be quite. I'll tell you about it next week, guys. I made broccolini on the side. It'll be great.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining.
All right, guys. See you next week. Take care.
I'm punching out too, team. Have a great football weekend, and we'll see you in the round of 4. And all right.
Yeah,
Rick.
Rick, it's good to see you.
Thanks,
And hopefully we'll see you next week. And this is let's see. There's my predictions, which goes against most of you all. And I have the Titans against the Chiefs and the Packers and the Bucs. That's who I have winning on that one.
I think the AFC game is going to be great regardless. I mean, you could take any of those 4 teams and shuffle them around and have the, in the AFC side, I think it's going to be just a very interesting matchup in the AFC, regardless of which of the 4 win this weekend.
I think that'll be a surprise. I got to correct everybody on one thing. I keep hearing the stereotype that there's no good quarterbacks coming out of this year's college draft. Kenny Pickett out of Pitt is this year's Mac Jones. People aren't giving him any credit, and he looks really good. He will be the Mac Jones this year.
Who was that, Tim? You broke up.
Kenny Pickett of Pitt. He will be the Mac Jones of this year. Everybody is not giving him respect, and he looks really good. Decision-making, arm strength, and everything else.
I know, but they're saying he's going to go like 8th or 9th. Like, I just saw the first mock draft, because the Giants aren't going to go there. They're going to give Daniel Jones another try, and everybody else already has their quarterback.
That's terrible. Daniel Jones is he's got to go.
He is not the guy.
Well, honestly, they were talking about it, and this makes sense. He actually has the mechanics of a Josh Allen. He just hasn't had an O-line. He hasn't had a coach. He hasn't had a GM. He hasn't had a running back. He hasn't had the people around him, and he hasn't learned to make the right decisions that Josh has made, but he's just as fast and just as athletic, and his arm is just as strong, and he's actually very athletic. So we'll see. Maybe this guy gets him a new coach, gets him a new our offensive coordinator was Garrett, and then our coach was nobody. So let's maybe give him his last chance. He's going to get a last chance. Baker's going to get a last chance, because other than Pickett, they say 2 other quarterbacks are coming out, and then they say the Giants' first draft pick is going to be a defensive guy. And I'm like, what are you doing, dude? It's like, you need offensive linemen. But
yeah,
we'll see.
When is the draft? How quickly after the Super Bowl?
It's in 90 days. It's in 90 days.
In 90 days from today? So 3 months?
Yeah, bro.
All right, that'll be fun.
But Pickett's going to surprise. There's a couple of other guys, too, that are not great, but I don't think they're as terrible as they're leaning on.
We'll have a draft show.
And the other thing I wanted to add to the point of, if you think it's bad for coaches, how many black GMs are there in the NFL? Any?
Yeah.
One?
We're just talking about, in order for that to happen, a black person has to own a team. That's what they're saying. Like, now they have to start owning teams, because it's not going to happen. Like, I agree with Casey. It's like, it's old white men running everything, and
there's probably more foreigners that own teams than.
Right, it's a shame that in 2020 we had more black coaches in the 80s and 90s than we've had since 2000, and it makes no sense. We're supposed to be growing upwards, not going backwards.
Well, Adrian Wilson, who was used to be safety for the Cardinals, but he's in their front office. He was rumored to get interviews for a GM spot, and I don't think that's happened. And he's a great guy. Has been really good with the Cardinals front office, and I don't think he got a single interview, which is really sad.
Yeah, and Tim, I agree with all of your takes. There needs to be lots of change, in the future. But with anything that goes viral nowadays on social media, all these general managers and owners, they go with the flavor of the week, right? What's the hot thing? What's the in thing? Well, Sean McVay, he's only 33, 34 years old. He's an innovative coach. He's got this amazing, innovative offense. He's an offensive genius. And if you guys remember, it was the same thing when New Orleans hired Sean Payton. Am I correct?
Yes.
The same thing. Where's my next Sean Payton? Where's my next McVay? That's what they're all looking for.
No, I agree. And the other thing is, like I said, the Houston coach, and let me talk a little bit about the Texans. I think Davis Love is the guy's name, who was the quarterback at the end of the year for Houston.
Mills. Wasn't it Mills? It's Mills, isn't it?
Mills.
That's a golfer, Davis.
Yeah,
He threw better stats. He threw 16 touchdown passes in like 5 or 8 games. He had better stats than Travis Lawrence, the Jets guy, half the quarterbacks in the NFL, and was for the radar. Nobody gave him any respect.
Yeah, he's great.
They had the worst. If you look at it, they had about the worst roster in the NFL in terms of offensive line. They had terrible offensive line.
Yeah, it was Mac Jones and then Mills. He was number one, and Mac Jones was the best.
Mac Jones had a better rookie season, and nobody talked about it.
And he didn't play.
Mills coached that San Diego secondary.
Yeah. That was
So they
the
got
guy
a
was
quarterback
fired after 1 year to get 4 wins out of a team that was maybe the worst. And you'd have to have a playoff for them and the Giants to determine the worst roster. But I think even the Giants might have beaten Houston. So it's
Yeah, that's what doesn't make sense with the Texans, because the year before with Deshaun Watson, they won 4 games. This year with a guy who knew they were going to have a crappy team, not have Deshaun Watson, still won 4 games, and that they fired him, it makes no sense at all.
And I really wish somebody would give him some interviews, because if he did that well with that lousy talent, it'd be interesting to see what he could do with a decent roster.
The only thing I can think of is the Deshaun Watson wanted to play for Flores, and that maybe they're going after Flores and to keep Deshaun Jackson in Houston, because they didn't fire him until after Miami fired him. And that's who Deshaun Watson wanted to play for. So maybe they're going to try to sweep him in there and keep.
I heard Houston said he will not be with Houston this year. You're talking about the quarterback?
Yeah, but I mean, if they get Flores,
Houston said
Houston
said he will not be with them.
No coach with one season should be fired anywhere, and no coach that wins 8 straight games should be fired. The Giants coach should be fired. He should have never been hired. But
you know what, though? The problem is it's harder to find a good quarterback than a good coach. And so they got the Miami. The Miami quarterback also was part of that win streak. So, and not that he's a great quarterback, but something clicked with him. And it's easier to go with a good quarterback, than a good. You could get a coach, and if you're like anybody could coach Tom Brady. Tom Brady's going to do what he's going to do.
Yeah,
coach is not going to make him look bad. So if the Miami quarterback Tua doesn't want Flores, guess who's going? The coach.
And for another time, as we get later and the less teams, that discussion of quarterbacks and coaches this year for the teams that didn't make the playoffs in the openings is a very interesting conversation, because again, you're a coach and you're going to be going to a team with no quarterback or a very low level quarterback. So it's an interesting dance. And then you throw into it that every year, I believe only 3/4 of the playoff teams this year will be in the playoffs next year. It's some stat like that. There's generally about 2 or 3 teams that are going to drop out from this year. And then the question is, like, putting aside the Chargers, who's going to come in next year? And I say that because, I would be shocked if the Chargers weren't a playoff team next year. But out of all the rest of the teams that didn't make it this year, who goes in next year to the playoffs?
The scheduling has so much to do with it, though. A team that has such a bad had such a bad record this year, all of a sudden picks up a couple of good players, and they have a very easy schedule. All of a sudden they're just like the Bills had a pretty easy schedule, and they beat some easy teams. So
they went last year to the playoff game. They went to the championship game last year. They're going to go next year. But my thing is, we put an extra.
But it goes by the record, though, doesn't it? Doesn't it still go by the record?
Yeah. Also, we put extra. And this is what I want to throw out there. We put an extra playoff game in there for the money and to watch, but they got the 2 worst teams in there and the 2 worst games. It got the Eagles in and it got Pittsburgh in.
Brought in the money.
2 worst games of the weekend, and it's like, did they really win any money on that, or maybe they did, but
they made money.
I had no desire to watch either one of those games.
But the league made money.
A little bit of it, just thinking hopefully something would be good. And they both gave me what I thought they were going to give me: garbage. They were garbage games. They weren't fun to watch. I like watching Mahomes, but I like watching him play teams that are deserve to be in there. So it was
this weekend we're gonna have good playoff games, and it's gonna be a fun weekend to watch. And we really have some good games. It's going to be exciting. Even if they're blowouts, they should be fun blowouts. Everybody should be playing. So we will come back next week, and we will recap and have fun, and will give us some more time to talk about some other stuff. And I think it was a good show today. We had fun talking. We went off a little bit on different things, and so hopefully this weekend will be fun, and I hope everybody can watch games. They're not on. Everything's going to be televised this week, and everything is separate times, so you can watch as much as you want or as little as you want. And so there's no Sunday ticket. It's just everything's out there. So, all righty, thanks for joining, Casey. Thanks for your features.
guys.
Loved them. Hopefully, we'll see everybody. And there's the playoff preview. It will be if I will. I got to put where the podcast is on, and the podcast right now is on my Todd, You're an Idiot podcast, and that's what it's called. There's some good stuff on there, and there's some fun non-sports stuff on there, and then there's also the Roku channel and Amazon Fire on the cross promoter on the America's Hottest Cheerleaders channel. If you got Amazon Fire or Roku, you could check it out there. So thank you all for coming, and I could wait. I don't know if everybody sees everybody in the background. I see all you. Do you all see each other or no? So
all right now.
no. Okay, everybody. Okay.
Bye,
We'll
guys.
see you. We'll see you next week. Have a great weekend.
Whoever's
care,
gambling, good luck. Bye.
Stay warm, Todd.
Yeah.